What's up, guys? It's your girl T here. I just saw Straight Outta Compton and I have a lot of thoughts. Look, I got notes and everything. Usually I just spit it freestyle like Snoop Dogg. I can rap talk. First off, the movie was executive produced by Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E's widow. So that right there kind of lets you know that it's not necessarily going to be the most honest and objective portrayal of the events that happened, leading up to NWA's formation and eventually their breaking up and ultimately Eazy-E's passing away. Having said that, there are some glaring things that are left out, most notably Dr. Dre's history of violence against women, and obviously they're not going to get into that when he's an executive producer because he doesn't want himself to be portrayed negatively. So just bear in mind that there is a certain sense of Dre and Cube and even Eazy-E, even though things weren't necessarily left off on the best of terms with them, all of them are portrayed mostly positively because they're in charge. They made the movie. This is the kind of problem that comes up in almost any historical biopic. There's always going to be that issue of, well, they changed that, they left that out, this isn't quite accurate, that's not really how it went down. But I think even with those inaccuracies, as a movie, not a documentary, but a movie, I think it's still really entertaining and I still enjoyed watching it. They did a really good job of condensing quite a lot of stuff. There are so many lives involved, so many people's stories, and to try to fit that into a movie, that's about 2 hours long, that's really, really challenging. Now, Ice Cube's son actually plays him, O'Shea Jackson Jr., that's Ice Cube's son. He looks so much like him, it actually helps you to really kind of get more immersed in the movie because he really just looks like Ice Cube. Actually, he kind of looks like a cross between Ice Cube and Drake in a bizarre way. But in any event, he does a really great job acting. There's a lot of really actually funny moments in the movie, which I found surprising. It's not just this hardcore gangsta rap, kind of lifestyle movie from beginning to end. It has a lot of humor infused into it and it makes you feel like these were real people. Overall, I think the performances were all really good. I think the guy who played Eazy-E was great. The guy who plays Dr. Dre was great. And obviously, Paul Giamatti playing Jerry Heller, their manager, really, really good job because he's freaking Paul Giamatti. The pitfalls of the movie kind of stem in this sort of one-sided portrayal of Suge Knight and Jerry Heller as more or less the villains. Depending on how familiar you are with the sort of rise of gangsta rap and the rise of NWA and the rise of West Coast hip-hop, it's a lot more complicated than it's portrayed in the movie, but again, these are the pitfalls of doing anything where people can actually fact check what you're putting in your movie. One thing that also fell to the wayside was Arabian Prince leaving NWA, like he's not really brought up or mentioned in the movie at all, and obviously MC Ren and DJ Yella are sort of tertiary characters. They're not really at the forefront of the movie at all. The movie is also really interesting because it delves into this issue of diss raps and the rise of that, because of course that was a huge part of the history of NWA, with Ice Cube leaving and going out solo and then basically being the man when he went solo, and then NWA trying to retaliate, and then later on Dre leaving NWA and starting Death Row Records with Suge Knight. That of course created new beefs between the remaining members of NWA and Dr. Dre. So diss raps you get a little bit of a history lesson in diss raps, and Ice Cube's maybe one of the best diss raps of all time, No Vaseline, is like a very important sequence in the movie. So it was really, really just fun to watch. And stuff like that where you get to kind of see the stories behind the songs, inaccuracies or not, are really fun to watch. And it just it reminds you of how much you like these songs in the first place if you were a fan of NWA or if you are a fan of NWA. I think the diss rap history lesson though is especially poignant right now with everything going on with Drake and Meek Mill. So that was kind of funny to see like the origins of diss raps when they were actually still really, really good, unlike this whack we're getting right now with Drake and Meek Mill, but I digress. I also think the movie did a really good job of kind of showing the use of hip-hop and of rap music as a form of protest. NWA was, of course, an extremely controversial group because of their songs like the Police and things like that. But again, this is another thing where it's just like history repeating itself. We've got so many things going on currently with police violence against citizens, racial tensions, and to see that happening in the early 80s and 90s, and to see how NWA came to be who they were and why their music was so important culturally was really important. And it's sort of just really cool to see that parallel to now, and to hope that, things are not going backwards and that things will continue to improve. I don't really know. It doesn't seem like it is. So anyway, guys, that's what I thought. Be sure to check out Straight Outta Compton if you were curious about it, because I think it is worth seeing As I've said, there are a lot of really important things that are left out, but given who was in charge of producing the movie, that was kind of a given. I think it's still really entertaining, and they even managed to kind of crowbar in an origin story for Felicia, so that's kind of fun to see in and of itself. Make sure you subscribe to Cinefix and leave a comment if you've seen Straight Outta Compton, if you're gonna see it, or if you just want to say hi. Hi back. Yeah, Dr. Dre, the original Chris Brown. But no one cares. They just like those Beats by Dre, meaning the headphones, not the beatings.